Well, Nick, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us as always. And of course, next Thursday is Budget Day with Grant Robertson set to deliver his 6th budget. So what's the economic climate looking like for that?
Pretty challenging there, Mark. So economic growth is slowing and there's always talk about recession potentially. Inflation is persistently high and the labour market continues to be strong, which means the Reserve Bank isn't going to be able to cut interest rates anytime soon. In fact, it may even increase interest rates further when it reviews the OCR in a couple of weeks' time. So high interest rates will dampen the economy going forward, and it'll be some time before they come down, I think.
So with the economy slowing and putting a squeeze on tax revenue, how's the outlook looking?
Yeah, so we've just seen the latest update to the government's financial statements. It came out yesterday as of the 9 months to the end of March, and they show revenue underperforming compared to forecast back in December. So we've had lower tax revenue from a slowing economy, so tax revenue pretty much across the board is lower than expected, and also a revenue from the emissions trading scheme, emission units, has been down as well because emission unit prices have been lower than expected too. So the revenue's down. The spending is also down a little bit, but not by as much. And so spending across most areas of government spending have been lower than forecast, but that's partly offset by higher finance costs, because of higher interest rates on the government's debt. So the net impact of that is an operating deficit, which is higher than expected, and a return to surplus could well be delayed as a result of that.
Well, the Prime Minister has talked about the budget being no frills, bread and butter. Do you agree with that focus?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been saying at Federated Farmers for ages about the need for fiscal responsibility. We've been one of the consistent submitters to the government and advocates to the government for fiscal responsibility. We need to ensure that fiscal policy doesn't boost inflation, so it needs to be, if you like, what they call disinflationary fiscal policy. Spending needs to be prioritised and focused on where it can do the most good. We certainly agree in that context that the cyclone rebuild and recovery needs to be a focus as well. But we think that can be funded without tax hikes, just as the previous governments funded the rebuild from Canterbury earthquakes and also from Kaikoura Huranui earthquakes as well. So there were no additional taxes or anything like that required for those particularly costly rebuilds too.
Nick, is there anything Federated Farmers particularly wants from this budget?
Yeah, so as I said, we want no frills. We want disinflationary fiscal policy to keep, to basically keep a lid on the pressures that are in the economy. We want spending focused on where it can do the most to make a difference. I guess in terms of where it should be focused on, obviously there are things that like health and education and the like, which are obviously very important. But we also would like to see funding prioritised on better roads, better connectivity, more resilience of rural and regional infrastructure, particularly in the light of the floods and cyclones and the like. We also want wider policies that promote competitiveness and productivity, and for the government to stop loading more and more regulations and costs onto farmers.
Well, on the converse, what does Federated Farmers not want in this budget?
What do we not want? Yeah, so we don't want an election year lolly scramble. That would be very harmful. It would just boost inflation and make the recovery longer and slower. We don't want wasteful spending on things that are not going to make the boat go faster. We certainly don't want new or higher taxes. Any talk of a wealth tax or capital gains tax or anything like that, or higher rates of income tax, should be kicked to the curb. I know the Prime Minister has said the budget won't have any tax changes, at least not for the coming financial year. However, there is no such commitment in terms of what would happen if the Labor-led government gets re-elected, that all bets are off. That's at this stage. And certainly in the context of taxes, we certainly don't want to see an ag emissions price put in place